took me off guard then. I was just choosing some of my knitting wool. I was thinking whether cream or brown. Which one would you prefer? Oh, I'm glad you're here. I've been ever so lonely just by the fire. John said to me, he said, why don't you read the boys and girls a story? And I said, oh, that would be lovely. So I've chosen one of my favourite childhood stories. Would you like to read it, boys and girls? Oh, well, this is called After the Storm. So pop on your fires, get all snuggled down, and we'll read the story After the Storm by the author, Nick Butterworth. Oh, I'm not sure I introduced myself and my memory is going a bit. My name is Grandma Hannon. Grandma Hannon, you heard correct. After the Storm. Here we go. I can see you sitting lovely. Percy the park keeper couldn't sleep. Sometimes I can't sleep. John's snoring. Ooh. He couldn't sleep outside his hut. A great storm was raging with thunder and lightning and pouring rain. Percy wasn't frightened by the thunder, and he loved to watch the lightning as it lit up the whole park. He didn't mind the rain, but there was one thing that Percy didn't like. What do you think that one thing that Percy didn't like was? It might well be. I'll turn the page and see. Oh, I wasn't expecting that. He didn't like the wind. It blew down the fences in the park and ripped the branches off the trees. He didn't like it one bit. Oh dear, he sighed as he watched from his window. Sounds a bit like our John does, this Percy guy. The wind tugged at the trees, making them creak and groan. It looks like I'm going to be busy tomorrow. He pulled his pillow over his head and tried to get to sleep. It's my favourite thing to do, sleeping and reading. Percy was up early in the morning. The wind had stopped and the sky was clear. Percy loaded his wheelbarrow with all the things he would need to make repairs and clear up after the storm. Then he set off to inspect the damage. I hope he's got knitting in his wheelbarrow, you know. Knitting and needles, they come in handy. He felt happy as he took deep breaths of the fresh, clean air. Perhaps the damage wouldn't be too bad. Wishful thinking, Percy. I beg to differ. I think it's going to be quite a bit of a damage with the sound of the storm through the windows. What do you think, boys and girls? You agree. But he was wrong. Something dreadful had happened. A great big oak tree that stood by itself on the top of a little hill had been blown over by the storm. The giant tree had been one of Percy's favourites. Now, it looked rather sad, lying on its side with its mass of tangly roots sticking up in the air. Can you see all the roots? They are the roots of the tree. Yes. But it wasn't just one of Percy's favourite trees. Some of Percy's animals' friends lived there. The animal friends. I wonder what animals lived in a tree like this. Percy hurried up to the fallen tree. It was completely wrecked, wasn't it, boys and girls? The animals were gathered together by the tree, looking cross and unhappy. When they saw Percy, everybody started talking at once. Sometimes children talk over one another, but maybe they shouldn't in these circumstances. Ooh. Percy sat down with his friends and listened as they told how the storm had brought down the great tree. And now we have nowhere to live, sniffled the badger. Some of us lived in the tree and some of us lived underneath the tree. But we're homeless now. Oh, some of the rabbits, they looked close to tears, and the fox was very snivelly. Oh, Percy passed him his handkerchief, and the fox blew his nose. I always have a handkerchief up my sleeve. It always comes in handy, in times like this especially. Percy stood up. We'll just have to find you somewhere else to live, he said. Come on, everybody, jump in my wheelbarrow. The animals felt better now Percy was with them. First he took them to the pine wood. Nobody wanted to live there. I wouldn't either. It's got a bit of trash around it. I've seen it with my very eyes. But nobody wanted to live there, as I said. Too dark, squeaked the mice. Too gloomy, said the hedgehog. So Percy took them to the shrubbery. But nobody wanted to live in the shrubbery either. No big trees, complained the squirrels. No big trees, complained the squirrels. No big roots, moaned the rabbits. They're being ever so strict, aren't they, boys and girls? Never mind, said Percy. We'll try to cross the stream. Percy began to push the heavy wheelbarrow over a little bridge across the stream. But as he got to the middle of the bridge, two things happened. I wonder what happened. Percy stumbled and the wheelbarrow decided to see what it would be like to be a boat. Splash! Suddenly Percy and his friends found themselves drifting downstream to where the stream opened into a rather big lake. Percy stood up and he looked around. We'll have to paddle to the shore, he said. But then something caught his eye. No, wait, said Percy. Let's paddle across to the other side of the lake. I have an idea. The animals looked puzzled. What was Percy up to? Slowly they paddled the wheelbarrow across the lake. Here we are, said Percy. The squirrels jumped ashore and tied up the wheelbarrow to the roots of an enormous hollow tree that grew to the water's edge. Now, this is my plan, said Percy. Everyone gathered round as Percy explained his idea. Is everybody clear? let's get to work. He's really good work ethic, Percy. Good boy. They began by unloading old Percy's tools and the planks of wood from the wheelbarrow. Then Percy explained exactly what he wanted each one to do. He delegated the tasks. He showed the badger how to use a saw. He showed the squirrels how to knock in the nails. The fox drilled the holes, and the rabbit, well, he screwed in the screws. The mice, well, they were busy and they kept fetching and carrying for everybody else. At lunchtime, they took a short break to share some of Percy's peanut butter sandwiches. Then they got busy again. It's always nice to have a short break, rich tea biscuit and a cup of tea. That's what I like. At long last, their work was finished. A very tired Percy stood back to admire their handiwork. Now, the squirrels had made a brand new home. So did the mice. And the rabbits had a new home too. And so did the badger. And the fox. And the hedgehog. In fact, every single one of Percy's friends had a lovely new place to live. Well done, everybody, said Percy. This is the best treehouse I've ever seen. What about you, Percy? Called the badger. Aren't you going to join us? Percy smiled. I think I'll stick to my old hut, he said. Besides, said Percy, taking an acorn out of his pocket, I still have one job left to do back at the little hill. What might Percy do with this acorn? Yes, he might plant it to make a new big tree. Now then, because I'm feeling ever so lonely with John, I thought it might be a nice idea for you to design a house for all the animals out in the cold. Think about what you might want to put on your old tree. I hope to see them